With a deafening roar and a flash of blinding light, a mysterious event suddenly shattered the tentative peace in the previously unassuming Southeast Asian country of Lamang. Now a hotbed of shrouded violence, many conflicting parties vie for control of the island nation, and to get closer to Ground Zero, the center of the mystery. With members of the United Nations standing by anxiously, a constant push and pull between gangs, bandits, and pirates, the local military, and occupying private military companies leave the country in a state between peace and full-scale conflict. This is Gray Zone Warfare. With a population of just under 75,000, the Democratic Republic of Lamang has, until now, been largely ignored by the international community. However, its history is stout with intricacies which may hint towards the origins of its current predicament. A former Commonwealth colony, Lamang enjoyed a short 20 years of relative peace after gaining its independence in 1948. Deeply rooted resentments resided, however, and in the 1960s, the country was rocked by a brutal civil war when the Sons of Lamang, an anti-British revolutionary faction, mounted a revolution against the de jure independent Lamang government. The Soviet Union, wishing to strengthen their Southeast Asian influence alongside neighboring Vietnam, supported the SOL both financially and with shipments of gear and weapons. Against the poorly coordinated and equipped Lamang military, the SOL won a swift victory. The commander of the Revolutionary Army, Lakshmi Sayavong, was named supreme leader and president of Lamang Island, and the country entered another era of unsteady but welcome peace. A contingent of Soviet troops remained on the island to help back the new SOL government until 1991, when the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War saw the complete and sudden withdrawal of support from the island. In 1996, a car accident took the life of President Sayavong, and his son, Narith Sayavong, was promoted to the new supreme leader of Lamang at the young age of 28. With Soviet support gone, Narith spoke of finally bringing the island into the next millennium through a program of rapid modernization and the newfound openness to outside and Western influences. This took the form of a heavy investment in tourism, and Narith constructed the Midnight Sapphire Resort, a playground for the rich where, according to rumor, anything was allowed for the right price. Residents of Lamang who fled the country during these 3 decades after Lakshmi's death tell of a different story. An oppressed society, rampant with hunger and poverty, and through pleading with the world community, the United Nations finally took notice and in the early 2020s formed the UNLRA, the United Nations Lamang Relief Agency. Hesitantly accepting the arrival of the relief mission, Narith Sayavong allowed the UNLRA access to Lamang Island to let them assess the situation on the ground and begin to lend aid. The mission had only been underway a short number of months when disaster struck. While official sources speak only of an unspecified environmental disaster, sources on the ground vary drastically. Across the message boards, communication apps, and online forums in the region, varying reports have arisen, all claiming authenticity, some of a downed satellite or meteorite impact, volcanic eruptions, or an explosion at a chemical factory. Other sources claim to have uncovered the hidden truth of illegal experimentation, deployment of tactical nuclear weapons, or even, of course, extraterrestrial activity. The origin of the nature of the cataclysm that rocked Lamang has never been verified by outside sources. Ever since, it has been referred to simply as the event. What is strikingly verifiable is the fallout of the event and the impact that it had on the people and infrastructure of Lamang. Overnight, misinformation, loss of infrastructure, and mass hysteria led to dangerous countrywide panic, with civilians unaware of who or what they were running from. The UNLRA scrambled to enact an evacuation mission, but the chaos in the region led to confusion, and instances of clashes between UNLRA and Lamang Armed Forces, or LAF, were reported. Within a week, the chaos had somewhat subsided, and all UNLRA personnel had retreated from the island. Having evacuated the majority of the civilian population, the entire zone was blockaded under international quarantine. Facing a potential international incident if members of the United Nations were to step in, they collectively agreed to not trespass into the zone, and Lamang became essentially devoid of life overnight. It became thusly the perfect target for armed criminal groups, pirate factions, and gangs, who quickly gathered in the region, looting or seeking potential wealth within, or even attempting to take control of the island in its entirety. Detachments of LAF ordered to protect high-value targets in the region have been engaged with these illicit groups since the enactment of the blockade. With international actors staying out of the region in an official capacity, the zone attracted powers of a different type, private military corporations. First one, then a total of 3, the Lamang Recovery Initiative, Mithras Security Systems, and Crimson Shield International. After establishing bases of operations and on-the-ground assets, all 3 began to advance towards the origins of the catastrophic event, the area at the heart of the island, now known as Ground Zero. Their missions were interrupted when only a short time later, all 3 PMCs suffered a series of coordinated strikes against their assets. Surgical, quick, and devastating, the PMCs in Lemong suffered almost an entire loss of territory in the region, heavy casualties to their operators, and substantial loss of equipment. The attacks were agreed to have been outside the capabilities of the local bandit factions or even the Lemong military. To this day, the perpetrator of these strikes is unknown. Recuperating their losses, the 3 PMCs in the region have begun recruiting new bodies for their missions to regain control of Ground Zero. Today, the LRI, Mithras, and Crimson Shield maintain forward operating bases on opposing sides of the Lemong zone. While each PMC has been hired by out-of-country clients for different public-facing purposes, they all have a similar conflicting interest: to gain a foothold in the region and uncover whatever secrets lie at the heart of Ground Zero. Most of the PMC contractors are on the island for a simple purpose: to receive a paycheck. But information of unknown materials recovered from the Ground Zero site by the LRI in the short time before the strikes have intrigued many of the foreign investors in the region, and rumors spread of artifacts of some kind. Whatever the initial reasons PMCs have had for shipping out to Lemong, many believe that the opportunity presented at the heart of the jungle is as great as the risk associated with seeking it. This has been a short overview in history of the events leading up to the game Gray Zone Warfare. For more information about the planned gameplay loop, or what we should be seeing with the game's early access period and when, check out the linked video in the description, and stop by my channel to hear my thoughts about this upcoming game. Until next time.